back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos. The Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do whatever you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It is immensely appreciated. Plus, if you really want a really good deal for your daily fantasy sports betting and the player props that come with it, please go ahead and check out ThriveFantasy.com or download the Thrive Fantasy app today onto your mobile phone. If you're in a state that's eligible, you can, with your first deposit, get up to $50 matching by Thrive Fantasy. They'll match, again, like I said, up to $50 if your first deposit is over $20. And you can do that by using the code LFB. That's LFB on checkout. So please be part of the fun and the action today for NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball when it comes back. I heard there's a major trade going down. San Diego Padres right there for you. Plus also PGA and esports. So go ahead and check it out today, ThriveFantasy.com or Thrive Fantasy app on your mobile phone. And remember the code LFB. Now, this is the type of team I really enjoy seeing because you can't complain. You can't complain even with Anthony Davis out of the lineup when you've got a great score of 127-91, a 36-point victory for the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, I know Karl Anthony Towns was in there. Hey, our Kentucky guy wasn't in there either. So AD for us, Cat for them. Obviously, it affected them a lot more. Kyle Kuzma played an outstanding game, but I really want to focus in on the defense, which has been a little bit soft in the first couple games. In fact, they threw a statistic that they were the 21st ranked defense after the first couple games, which has been kind of a, maybe getting a little bit into the action, so to speak. But here today to talk about everything going on with the Lakers game are two great guests. First off, it is the Magic Man. Indeed, it is Sean Grice. He is in the dark. He's looking kind of mysterious. And maybe that's the way we like it here at Lakerholics.com. But I ask you, my friend, that's okay. We'll just take mysterious Sean. That's good. That's good. But how are your overall impressions? I mean, you really can't argue because they did overall play a sensational game.
My goodness, Gerald, they did. And that performance by Marc Gasol took me back to, 2015, 2016 with the Grizzlies.
Absolutely.
His ability to just find the open man when they cut, when they're open, even those soft spots, he's able to locate the open guy. It's amazing to watch him.
Well, it was just a great job by Marc Gasol today. Perfect from the field. And also here today is a special guest indeed. It is Lee Robinson. Welcome, Lee. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Hey, guys.
Well, almost one of the best days you could, outside of course, being the Lakers championship win, but one of the best days of the year to actually be a part of the show is on a day where they absolutely killed the Minnesota Timberwolves by 36 points. You got to be happy with the way they played today.
No, I'm a little upset. I wanted them to match. I wanted them to match Dallas and go for the 50-point win. But we'll settle for a good 35-point win or whatever it was. Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun indeed. I enjoyed it rather immensely. The fact that, yes, you're right. Maybe they didn't get to meet up to Dallas, but maybe Dallas was a little bit mad because the Lakers waxed them on Christmas. And the fact that they had they broke a record today. They had the largest lead ever on a team in the first half at 50 points by halftime. And it was over LakerTom's favorite arch nemesis, the LA Clippers. So I got to bring him into right now. It is the mastermind behind Lakerholics.com. It is LakerTom. He's got that beaming, shiny face. You can always tell when the Lakers are winning because he's got that smile you just can't hide. He just can't hide it. So it is LakerTom. And LakerTom, you got to be satisfied with what they did overall today.
Well, it was one of those days, Gerald, that you'll remember for at least until tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, exactly.
It started off, it started off, I'm sitting here and I look at a tweet that says the Clippers are down, 77-27 at halftime. I mean, yeah. I was incredulous. I actually I checked ESPN and NBA.com just to make sure that those numbers were real. And then the day proceeded along with the Nets losing. I watched the end of that game. The Bucks losing to the Knicks. I mean, my God. You've got the 76ers losing and the Celtics losing, which, for the Lakers, for a good Lakers fan, having the Celtics lose and the Clippers lose in the same day as the Lakers waxed the Timberwolves, you can't beat that day. It was a great day. Like you said, I think the defense came alive, held them to 91 points, 30% from the field, 24% from the free throw line. Without AD in the lineup, we blocked 14 shots. I mean, it's just really pretty amazing. So the team came back, and the fast breaks, the passing from Gasol. We finally saw what Marc Gasol can do in the right situation. I loved right from the very beginning, the first play of the game. I saw them post him in the corner for a corner three. He didn't actually get the shot, but it was nice to see that they were making adjustments. The team played well, and Kyle Kuzma, good move to make that boy a contract because he really showed he can play. He had a sensational game, 20 points in the first half. And the beautiful thing about it is that he really wasn't gunning. He was taking shots within the framework of the offense. And all the way through the end of the game, he was looking for his teammates for open opportunities to pass the ball. So you got to give the Lakers 5 stars for today's game. The schedule is, I've always loved back-to-backs, even though the players hate them because, it's nothing as good as having a Laker win and coming back the next night and getting to watch it again. And we're going to see a lot of back-to-backs. And I love this. I'm really liking the idea of these 2-game schedules where you actually go in and play a game 2 times in a row. And we've got a pair of those coming up with the Spurs and the Grizzlies. So it's going to be a great end of the year. We've got 13 games that look very winnable for the Lakers. Let's hope that they can keep their focus on. We've already got our rings, so we don't have to worry about that one. And now we can really focus on just trying to get some rhythm going, get the defense playing the way it's been doing, and continue to play offense the way we're doing.
Incredible performance, like I said today. Just getting into what we saw out of the preseason. I do like the fact that I wish they would have given THT more time. I think you should have burned him like 30 minutes today. I think that's the only thing I would have come out of it. That's the only thing I saw that I really thought should have taken place because you're already leading by 30. I think you should have just played him the entire second half, and there you go. Lee, what are your thoughts on maybe giving THT more time early rather than just going ahead and having him sit? Now, I understand he played over 20 minutes today, but this to me, it seems like the best opportunity you can to go ahead and see what he's going to be able to do for you long term.
Yeah, I agree, Gerald. It would have been good to see him get a little more minutes early. But actually, it was garbage time from halfway through the first quarter. So, yeah, it would have been a good chance to see him get some run. He's aggressive, though. I like his attitude. When he gets out there, he's trying to make things happen. He's not waiting around trying to get into the flow. He's like, look, I'm in here. I want to show you I belong. Let me, didn't have his best game, but he still was always in attack mode. So, that's a tough, that's a kind of fine line because Kuz had it going. You want to get him going, and, you want to get everybody their regular minutes, too. So I guess I can understand Vogel just trying to set the team into a set rotation right now and then not veering off of that path that much.
And I know this is something that LakerTom has been concerned about with running the 11 players out there that they've been trying to do on their regular rotation. I know the odd man out right now, or the one that's getting the least amount of minutes, probably needs the most minutes right now, and that is THT, to really see where he can go. But I agree with Kuzma's hot like that. It's hard to keep him out of the lineup because, with Kuzma, I think it's a lot of up here as well as far as his confidence and his belief in himself. He seems to get very down on himself, and you can see it on the court when he's really not being able to go ahead and get that shot going. But for today, it worked just great, and I think he's gotten off to a pretty good start, much better than obviously what we saw from him early on last year. Sean, I wanted to ask you this. When it comes down to it, I spoke to LakerTom just before you came on from that. I don't know what that was. Was the chamber of Sean MagicMan that you were in earlier? But that was kind of like a different atmosphere. It was kind of cool. It had that kind of like scary vibe for a little bit. But I wanted to ask you this: the thing with Marc Gasol, I had just said in my comments on Lakerholics.com, 5 to 10 points, just enough to make sure that defenses have to respect him. That's all I'm asking. Now, obviously, he's not going to be perfect from the field every time, but this is more like the performance we want to see out of Marc Gasol.
Oh, absolutely. He was ready to shoot. I mean, the ones that he didn't hit, it looked like he was in rhythm at least. He wasn't rushing himself like he had been, I thought, the past 2 games and in the preseason. And usually with Marc, it starts with his passing. I kind of like the synergy that the team has defensively. Usually with KCP, he loves to run out and get a couple of quick layups, and then he's confident for 3, and you see him bombing away. And usually with Marc, it's the same way when he gets rolling with those, pocket passes, those high mid-post passes, the elbow passes. It seems to get him going defensively as well.
Absolutely. It was nice to see that. Now, I know he's still rounding out in the shape, and of course, what are you going to get out of him for the entire season? I'm hoping that they'll just go ahead and save him or try to do the best they can to make sure he gets through the season, understands the layout of the offense, understands what the expectations are, and be ready for possibly a series against, like LakerTom has mentioned, against Jokic or Nurkic for Portland or something like that, as far as to go ahead and bang away, because that's what we'll really need him for, is later rather than sooner.
This is Raphael from NBA Draft Junkies.com, and you are listening to the Lakers Fast Break.
Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
People are just losing their minds trying to consume Marvel products right now, and I don't blame them. This is some of the best entertainment you can get on TV and big screen right now.
If something's going to be successful or not, they look at the mentions, they look at the likes, they look at the retweets and the tweets and the subtweets and the tweets, and they look at all of that to say, okay, this is actually going to garner a lot of attention.
Is it going to be enough, though? I think the fish out of water syndrome might be enough for somebody like us, because it's going to be hilarious to watch 2 stoner kids we saw barely make it through high school now live in a society that they fully don't understand because they've been stuck in a decade and never came out of it.
Facebook stars, not ninja stars, okay? I know how some people take things literally, so don't throw ninja stars at us, but like the Facebook stars. Click on those. That's what we want.
That's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show.
And the PCC Multiverse.
Catch our shows on Worldwide Radio 7 days a week and wherever you get your podcasts. But LakerTom, I wanted to ask you this. When it comes down to the defense, we saw a much more effective defense today as far as challenging shots, getting in those passing lanes, something I had gone ahead and said, you know what, this is what we need to go ahead and do. Yes, I understand Minnesota's playing a back-to-back, but they will all be playing back-to-backs. And Minnesota was coming off of a very surprising victory, I believe, in Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to ask you.
Utah, wasn't it?
Was it Utah? Utah. Okay.
Jazz.
My apologies, Utah. So I want to ask you this. When it comes down to it, you've got to be impressed with the defensive end. Is this something they're going to be able to stay at long term? Because it sure helped LeBron out today. LeBron was in cruise control all the way from the get-go once he saw that the Lakers were going to have their way.
I think there's a couple of things that really make a difference. I think what really helped Gasol is he didn't get in foul trouble.
Yes.
That was the real problem that Marc got in the first 2 games. Both games he was immediately in foul trouble, and it's if there's anything that takes a good player out of his rhythm and makes him tentative on defense, tentative even on offense, it's getting in those situations where you've got fouls, and a lot of that comes from the team defense, because if you're one of the things that I think has to change, and Vogel is obviously tweaking it, is that last year we were able to count on having rim protection underneath the basket all the time. And so that allows your perimeter defenders really to play their man a lot closer, to take a lot more chances, to channel the players into the driving into, to the left or right and force them. And that sort of philosophy doesn't really work as well with Marc, because he doesn't have the quickness of feet nor the leaping ability to really protect the rim that way. His strength is basically getting his body into a guy, stripping the ball from him down low, which you saw him do a couple of times tonight. And the kind of blocks he gets are the kind of blocks when he's got somebody stationary next to him, rather than somebody coming at him 100 miles an hour. So I think that we've made some adjustments defensively. I love the motion that we had because every time you saw a pass go to an open man, there was somebody running out there to challenge the shot. And every shot was contested, and that made a big difference. And then we got a lot of blocks from all sorts of people. Kuzma, 2 blocks in the first quarter. And it was just THT had a block. Gasol had 4 blocks, and you think about that. It wasn't the kind of 4 blocks that Dwight Howard would make, with these sensational athletic plays, or JaVale would make. But it was just more the savvy, getting a hand on the ball in a close, tight quarter fight. We're going to see a lot of games like this. It's going to be the version of the Lakers load management, because we're going to have a lot of routes, I think, and a lot of times when we're going to see fourth quarters where, I'm wondering whether Gerald's already posted the link to the podcast at the end of 3 quarters because he wants to move on. And, I was sort of anxious that last few minutes myself. I was able to, take off 2 or 3 minutes, go downstairs, give the wife a kiss goodnight, and, and just make sure that the cats were in good shape. And so we're going to see a lot of games like this, especially, I hope, during the next 13 games.
Well, that's one thing. I think
the defense comes from us on team defense and on people being able to really pick up their rotations correctly, make the rotations with anticipation rather than being late. Guys just seeing the game happening before them so they know what the next play is. And that's really what we did that won us the championship. And a lot of that was AD playing at center and Morris playing at the 4. We're so versatile now. I mean, we didn't miss AD tonight, man. And to tell you the truth, I started off the day wondering what the hell was going to happen with Gasol trying to guard Cat. And I posted a couple of posts about that, and somebody came back and said they're both going to be out of the game. And and that guy was absolutely right. By the time the afternoon got by, I was onto a whole new topic. Just wondering.
Yeah, the Battle of Kentucky did not happen for you today.
Pardon?
The Battle of Kentucky did not happen for you today.
That's true. It's interesting to see because I thought it might have been a chance. It might have been an opportunity for Vogel to make some changes in the starting lineup. I thought Trez played very well defensively too. He did a good job on guys everywhere in the court. And he seems to be, the energy that he and Dennis brings has really transformed the team offensively, but it's also helped defensively because they're both very quick players. They're both quick and aggressive, and they both have, as LeBron likes to say, they both got a lot of dog in them, and they're in there fighting all of the time. They never quit, and you got to love that. That just, they're the kind of guys you hate when they're on the other team, but you love them when they're on your team.
Well, it's so funny because John Calipari would actually love to have either or Cat or Anthony Davis right now because he's struggling hard. 1-6 right now. Life is hard for Kentucky. And you know what? All those teams that have struggled over the years in college basketball, they're not feeling sorry for him one bit. Not one bit.
Trez is laughing because Louisville 6-1.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. And Gonzaga, man, they look like a powerhouse. I'm not a big Gonzaga fan.
The teams that lost today,
but
five of what you could claim are the top 8 teams lost today.
Oh yeah, that's true. But Gonzaga, with Suggs, the freshman coming in there, staking his claim. He's really good. I think he's going to be a player, and just to see them develop. I'm not a huge Gonzaga fan per se. My heart at that point of time from the early 90s went for Loyola Marymount for the WCC. But you know what? To give some credibility to the WCC, I'd love to see them go all the way for a national championship just to give that conference a big boost. Because it's obviously, they're at the peak of their powers right now as a college, as a university basketball organization. So you don't know how much Mark Few is going to be able to go ahead and consistently keep this up, or if he leaves, what would happen to the team as a whole. So I'm very happy to see the success for Gonzaga.
Yeah, Gerald, I was going to say I'm a huge Mark Few fan. I remember working
excellent coach.
Working, mid-afternoon to the 3 a.m. shift and coming home and seeing Gonzaga play and I'm just a huge Few fan. And I'm rooting for him to win a championship. He's really
this is their time. Their time is now. They won't have any other better time than now. I'd say that. But Lee, let me get you back involved with this. Again, it was a big block party for the Lakers. Something I'm going to tell you and be honest with you, with LakerTom's favorite, JaVale McGee, no longer on the team, who's actually doing well for Cleveland, I might add, and also as well Dwight Howard, who's also doing well for Philadelphia, I might add. I figured that people shouldn't expect the 6 blocks a game for the Lakers. I think it was reasonable to say that they weren't going to be able to attain that number one status simply because Mark, like LakerTom said, just said, he's not that type of individual. But seeing that today, seeing the type of defense that it's orchestrated, were you impressed by what they did today as far as from a blocks and overall defensive standpoint is concerned?
The blocks, I don't know. I mean, some of that, Minnesota's just such a bad team, and they're so lost without Cat. It really shows the difference between the Lakers team and the Minnesota team. You take Anthony AD out, and the Lakers are rolling. Next guy is thirsty. You take Cat out, and that team looks, like a
ragged.
Yeah, very bad. I thought set the tempo. His defense, I thought on D'Lo, really set the tempo for the game because he got into him, he pressed him, he got into his body, he frustrated him. All the way through the game. And
three offensive fouls he drew on him.
Yeah, so I really thought that set the tempo. I mean, he didn't have a great offensive game, Schroeder, but his defense, I really thought I was impressed. I knew he was a scorer coming in, and I knew he was a guy who can get his, and he was a guy who we can depend on to create. I didn't know he really brought the fight defensively as much as he has. And I don't know if he's just doing that because he's on the Lakers now, but I just don't remember him being that assertive on the defensive end on past teams. So I thought that was the most impressive thing defensively for me today. Trey always gives good effort on defense. Lakers smart. They're not going to be blocking many shots. Like you guys have said, they don't have that type of team. I was not happy with Dwight Howard being let go. And I hope it don't come back to haunt us, but I just didn't understand bringing in Gasol for him. But you know what? Rob deserves the benefit of the doubt. He's brought us number 17, so hey, he gets a season pass from me. So, but I'm like you guys have talked about in earlier podcasts. We're going to need another big guy. I'm not going to feel comfortable going into the playoffs with Gasol. So I guess that's my long way of saying the block party. No, that won't continue. And today I don't really put a whole lot of value in that. But it was good. It was nice seeing Kuz chase down a few blocks. But I mean, think of that. Look at that team Minnesota had offensively. Is there anyone on that team that scares you? I mean,
no, definitely not Edwards at this time.
Yeah, but I mean,
Ricky Rubio probably is the best player on that team now.
Yeah, he's gonna be decent. If D'Lo if he doesn't come out getting it going, then there's nobody else. And I mean, Gasol. I mean, to go, he had a great present by being able to go against Naz Reid today. So he won't have any matchups like that. So it's good to see him, really do his thing today. So
absolutely, go ahead, Sean.
I was gonna just piggybacking off of what Lee said. I thought one sequence of plays just exemplified the lack of discipline on that team. Malik Beasley, who's in headlines more for his off-the-court antics than what he does on the court, shot like a 35-foot three that he had no business taking. And then he follows Kuz on the layup and fouls him in midair. That team is such a bad, disciplined team. And I don't think Cat coming back will fix that. I think this is a long-term project.
Well, they did start out well last year, and then it all went downhill rather quickly after a surprisingly good start. They were 2-0 coming into the game, and I think this is going to be the highlight of their season going forward. It is going to be a work in progress. I mean, because you've got, like you said, D'Angelo there going to be putting up a whole ton of shots. Malik Beasley thinking he's going to be now with that nice extension, trying to go ahead and put up a whole bunch of shots. Anthony Edwards, you see, he's going to be a work in progress. They want to get him a lot of shots. I think Cat is going to be very frustrated by the time this season is over, and he could be the next big star on the move, or the next big star that wants to be moved, because I don't know how much more a guy with that immense amount of talent is going to be able to stay there. I mean, LakerTom, do you disagree? I just think if you're in Cat's situation, you're going to give it a little bit more time, but not much more.
Well, Cat sort of has gone through hell with his mother died of COVID and 6 other family members. And he sort of has rededicated himself to saying that he's not going to be the lackadaisical player that he was before. And so you hope that going through tragedies like that and so forth can sometimes really help mature a young guy. And he was an integral part of those 2 wins that they had. I don't know who they got the first win off, but beating Utah was Utah was a good win for them. And I think that, he's got a long contract. So, and I don't think that they're going to be looking to trade him.
Well, they don't want to trade him, but he may force a trade.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think Gerald's right. I think by the end of the year, Cat's going to be upset. And I think he'll probably ask them quietly to try and look for a new location. And I think if they rebuke him, he'll pull a James Harden. Oh, you know what? My back is just so
God, I just
sore,
hope that more players don't pull a James Harden. At least they can do it like Kobe did it, and come out there and demand a trade, but then come out and play hard. Although you have to admit, Harden. I mean,
Harden the clubs when they do,
and he comes out there and drops 44, 17 assists. I mean,
Fat Beard gets 44.
I don't.
Must be nice.
I hate that. I hate that from a superstar. And I feel for Rockets fans that.
But I think he set a precedent, Tom. Unfortunately, Harden has now.
Well, he's made that team. He's made that team over like 3 or 4 times, and then now he wants out with the team that he made. And after another superstar, he sort of got. They blamed the other superstar every time somebody didn't fit with him. For 3 times in a row, and pretty soon you figure out that, man, it's not these other guys' problem, it's your problem,
But I call him the
game.
But I call him the legendary Ric Flair of the NBA because he can party all night and roll out and get you 40 the next day. So it just seems like he's amazing. And
him
he might be out of shape.
The same team and
he might be out of shape. He might isolate, but dang, he can get you 40 a game, still rolling out of bed. That's literally.
As long as it's not the playoffs.
Yeah, as long as it's not the playoffs.
We won't talk about the playoffs. Absolutely right, Lee.
Yes. But I want to get to you, Lee, right now on the schedule coming up ahead, because LakerTom mentioned that on the surface, it doesn't look too tough, and nor should it be. But I think the Lakers' focus plus the schedule itself being that they're playing essentially, 5 games within an 8-day period of time is going to be something that focus has to be, because fatigue will set in. They're going to travel to these places, even though in the case of San Antonio, they'll be playing up back-to-back. And in Memphis, they'll be in Memphis back-to-back. It's just a matter of fatigue and focus, I think, the 2 Fs right there that might get in the fray from what they should be doing, because they should run the table. You look at the schedule, and they should run the table. But in your mind, do you see them doing that, or do you see, like I said, focus and fatigue possibly getting in the way?
I definitely think it's going to be a challenge. Me and LakerTom probably old enough to remember when they used to do that a lot in the 70s, where you played the same team on back-to-back nights. Probably to the early 80s, and then they kind of did away with that. It is tough to be.
You're showing our age there, Lee.
Well, I remember 3 games and 4 nights too. So there you go.
Yeah. They actually used to play 3 in a row too. 3 way back. But it's tough to beat a team but twice in a row. I mean, look, Phoenix and the Kings just split. I think the Celtics got the Pacers. Of course, they'll probably beat the Pacers tomorrow. It's tough to beat a team twice in a row. San Antonio's playing good. I mean, I watched them a little bit. I believe they lost today, but they pulled out a tough comeback, come from behind win the other day. So they got
the Raps.
Yeah, against the Raptors should have won that game too.
I mean, look at the Brooklyn Nets, who came out with 2 20-plus point victories. And I said to LakerTom, I said, as of now, they were looking like they were the best team in playing right there in the NBA. Yeah. Not the best team overall, but playing like they were the best
Gerald
team.
Glassford curse on them.
Well, yeah, Gerald Glassford curse indeed, because they went to Charlotte and stunk it up. Because when the stuff that I saw from them, lack of focus, lack of attention. And this is something that all these top teams, whether it's Milwaukee, the Lakers, the Clippers, as you saw today with getting roasted by the Mavericks, it's just you have to keep focused on what you're doing. But I have a feeling you're going to see all these teams do that from time to time just because of the way the schedule is going to be. Do you concur?
We know Portland's coming with their game tomorrow. They love playing against the Lakers. And so in the regular season especially. So they're going to come out guns a-blazing tomorrow. So that's going to be a tough game. So, I mean, we'll have our bumps and bruises. LeBron's not really, he's playing his way into game shape. So it's going to be a minute. So I wouldn't be surprised to take a couple of L's. I wouldn't be shocked or sound any alarms if we lose a couple along the way out of those next 4 or 5 games.
And the way the league is setting itself up by allowing the players a little bit more courtesy and allowing them to sit out, I don't see Golden State's percentage as far as their overall season winning percentage, that going by the wayside on a season like this. Again, it's all about preparations for the upcoming playoffs. I think the Lakers are already started in many ways working towards that, but they did look good today. We're signaling the ref for a quick timeout, but we'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Hey, Lakers fans! Looking for the best place to go for up-to-date news, information, original videos, articles, podcasts, opinion pieces, and discussions about the world champion Los Angeles Lakers? Well, look no further than LakerHolics.com. With a legion of followers always there talking about everything Lakers and the NBA, there's no better place to go to share your fandom as the team heads toward another championship run. So stop by and be part of the conversation today at LakerHolics.com. But I want to go ahead and appreciate, again, Lee Robinson, Sean Grice, a.k.a. MagicMan, and, of course, LakerTom here for today's show. But, before we head on out, guys, I got to hear what you're working on. LakerTom, I know you don't have that many articles in the chamber, but I saw you squeak one out. You squeaked one out there when it concerns LakerHolics.com. But I want to go ahead and start with Sean Grice, a.k.a. MagicMan, first. What are you working on for LakerHolics.com?
Thanks a lot, Gerald. You know what? I've been doing some deep diving into the buyout market for 2021 for big men. And
I'm doing my deep diving motion now.
And it's looking really shallow. So
that's because everybody that was worth something signed an extension because they've all been advised to sign the extension because of what's going on with COVID.
Right.
So I think the Lakers have to make a choice. I think they're going to have to look for another forward or guard in the buyout market and use Alex Caruso as a trading chip.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only way you can maneuver your way to get a decent.
He's the GOAT. You can't trade him.
Don't get me started with that. Again, it all depends on where the Lakers are at, I think, at that point in time.
You're right. It does, but to me, it goes back to Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the correct one. So I think if we need to improve the guard and forward spot on the wings for defense, then it's easier to find somebody like that in the buyout market pool than trying to find a big man and use Caruso as the bait. That's just my opinion.
Still think the priority should be finding some height, just because Marc Gasol is 35 plus years old. You don't want to go ahead and burn him out. But also here as well, LakerTom, I know what you're working on for LakerHolics.com, but what are your thoughts for the Lakers week going forward as well, my friend?
Well, actually, I wish that the one move that we would have made is to go after the guy that the Rockets got.
Christian Wood looking good, man.
Wood, man.
Was I right on that one? Was I right on that one?
You were right on that one. I mean, Gerald proposed him as part of a throw-in trade for Rose.
January.
And that would have been a wonderful, sweet trade. I've talked with L-Rob about that too, you know, about how he's a Detroit guy, so he understands, and he's seen a lot of Christian Wood play. I think that I've always felt that the best move the Lakers could make offensively and defensively was to bring in a true center, a true modern center. And by modern center, I mean a guy who shoots threes, can protect the rim, and can defend on the perimeter. Right now, I think the guy that I would target, and I'm disappointed that the Pacers are doing so well because I love Miles Turner, and I'd love to see him be the center that would allow us to play that same type of small ball that we play so well with AD at the center for the whole time, you know. So it's interesting that there was a post, a tweet today listing the 6 top scorers of the Lakers, and every one of them is, except for LeBron James, is under 27, is 27 or 20, 25 to 27 years old. So we're really making quick moves toward the Anthony Davis era and making sure that we have players around them. And at the same time, I think that down the road, when you have to replace LeBron at some point in time, and the honest truth of the matter is what you really need to replace him with is a guard, because his function on the floor is basically as our point guard. He's our main facilitator. And if you look back at every major championship team in the NBA, they've always had a championship guard, whether it's a point guard or a shooting guard. It's a guy who's got the ball in his hands all the time. And it's hard for forwards. It's harder for centers, especially in today's age, to have that kind of impact because you don't have the ball that much, you know. It takes a really unique guy like Jokic to be able to do that. So I've been focusing on ways that the Lakers can get Anthony Davis to play center more. And that's the article that I put out in Lakerholics.com, that we need guys like Morris and Harrell who have enough savvy and enough bulk and size that they can guard most big men, so that you can play Davis at the center offensively as a stretch 5. And I don't think you want to play him down low. He's, you know, I made the comparison that he's more Kareem than he is Shaq. He's better up when he's standing out in space, facing the man and driving to the basket or taking those jump shots. And I think that's the future for keeping him healthy on the offensive end. And on the defensive end, you've got to have some size and bulk, but that size and bulk also has to be able to be an offensive threat. And that's the reason why I think we let Dwight walk, and the reason we traded JaVale. We really wanted somebody who has some offensive gravity. And I'm really pleased with Harrell's mid-range shot from the baseline. I think it's a very high percentage shot for him. And you add that to his ability to attack and be on the rebounds and the Energizer Bunny attitude that he has all the time, that he's giving you 100% at both ends of the court. We're going to win, and we're going to win with AD, man. AD is going to be the next great NBA player. Go ahead. Luka. It's not going to be anybody else. It's going to be AD.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gerald, we're going to see a lot of Trez dribbling through his legs tomorrow when he's got Cantor on an island and he blows by him about 5 or 6 times.
Well, I'm just going to say this. You want LakerTom, you want AD to play more 5. You want him to play more center during the course of the season.
My kind of center, though, modern center. I don't want him banging down low on offense or defense.
Okay, because I was going to say.
I don't want him guarding. The same reason I don't want him guarding a real bruiser underneath is the same reason I don't want him trying to score on a guy underneath like that. He needs to have space to operate. And one of the things that you have to realize that even though Gasol didn't do anything in the first 2 games and didn't have any open 3-point shots, the reason he didn't is because he had Serge Ibaka out there away from the basket on every single play when they were in the game. And that opens up a lot of the game. So we've made some major changes that I never really expected with Frank Vogel as our head coach that we would have made strategically on how we approach the game of basketball. We took an old school coach who's really thinking like a and I know he was involved in these decisions because that's the way that Rod Pelinka runs the thing. He was going to talk just like Kareem, just like LeBron and AD are involved in those decisions. This was a consensus decision when they decided to go and take Harrell and bring in Gasol and let Dwight walk and let JaVale go.
I was going to say this, Leo, and I'm going to give it to you in a sec here. And I appreciate, again, you coming and joining us for today's show, and hope you'll come back on for many more. Hope LakerTom didn't scare you away. But I wanted to go ahead on this and say, you know what? You know how you get AD to play more 5 during the season? You hypnotize them and tell them every game is a playoff game. Playoff game. That's the only way you're going to get AD to play a lot more 5 during the season. So I just wanted to make sure that was clarified. Because he does not want, and he should, nor should he. Like you said, Tom, if he's underneath.
He's actually been pretty forward recently saying that he'll play 5. He doesn't have any problem with it.
He doesn't have to. He shouldn't have to during the season. Plus, he's not the most he's a little bit fragile. That's why he signed the contract.
He's not
Go ahead, Sean, because I want to turn over to Lee. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to finish off, Gerald. I think you're right. I think we would need like Ka from the Jungle Book to come and hypnotize him to play the 5.
Yeah.
It's a playoff game. It's a playoff game. But Lee Robinson, I wanted to go ahead again. You are welcome back anytime, every game, after every game. I'm hoping you're coming back and join us anytime you want. The door is always open for you, and we truly appreciate you being part of the Lakerholics crew and everything that you've contributed with. LakerTom tells me some great stories from your days back with the LA Times, as far as spreading the comments there and spreading the Laker love there, up until today when you're dealing with Lakerholics.com and you see Jamie and I roasting LakerTom and LakerTom roasting us and going back and forth. I'm not sure that's the best thing in the world, but I want to apologize up front on that.
Looking forward to some spice today, but we got none in a 40-point lead. It was nothing,
Well, I'm not being paid $1 million, so I don't really want to go ahead and argue with Tom unless I'm being paid. I want ESPN. I want Stephen A. Smith money. You pay me Stephen A. Smith money, I will argue LakerTom all day long, but I don't want to argue with him right now.
So. You do a pretty good job, even without Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
You go at Tom pretty good.
He's merciless on me, isn't he? Isn't he, Rob?
And then he lumps all of us into a crew, and then he goes and lumps all of us into the same statement.
Oh, you poor baby.
Yeah, and I had to go on Lakerholics.com and correct him again, and I'll leave it at that. But I wanted to go ahead and give you the floor because you've been so gracious to join us today, and I truly appreciate your analysis and insight. It's going to be a tough road ahead as far as just keeping focus. I mean, these games should all be easily won. But as you stated earlier, I mean, it's just a matter of going ahead and doing the best you can. But what do the Lakers need to do, not only for the rest of this year, but going forward into 2021 to keep that momentum? I'm not expecting the same type of, what was it that we talked about LakerTom before a long time ago on the podcast, about 25-3. They had this gaudy number to start off with. But even if it's just like 20-5, 30-6, 30-7, just some type of record that will tell you, you know what, the Lakers aren't doing so bad. What do the Lakers need to go ahead and keep just that momentum going forward that they take, what they took away from today? Because obviously you got to go ahead and keep going with this type of performance if you can.
Yeah. Gerald, first I want to thank you for having me. I've always enjoyed listening to you guys' podcasts. I really actually think I started listening after Kobe passed, and I kind of needed to feel a sense of community. I hadn't really been connected for a little while, and that death just hit so hard. I was, I just thought about my Laker family, and then, I found the podcast, and I listened then. I've been listening ever since. So you guys do a very good job. Of course, Sean is my man from way back. It's always good to hear him talk and get his opinion on things. So I got a few of your guys from the Raptors on my fantasy team, Sean. So I'm going to have to get some info. I've added some guys recently, so hopefully they can come through. But that'll be a separate note. But what do they need to do? I think what you said earlier, Gerald, is you got to lean on some of the young guys who's hungry, man. Put THT in there. Schroeder's hungry. Trez is hungry. So those guys got to carry you. I mean, that's what good championship teams do when they're trying to repeat. They bring in somebody else who hasn't tasted that that championship feeling before, and they energize the old guys. They'll energize LeBron. They'll energize AD, and they'll energize the other guys. So I mean, we'll be okay. I mean, we we got the depth, so I think we're still, we might drop a game or two here, but I don't think us, I can't see us. I think that mantra of not losing 2 in a row, I think they're going to live up to that again. And we're going to win the West, and we're going to be in good shape, but it's not going to be, even though we have the best team, we're not just going to steamroll the teams, because we get everybody's best shot, and everybody will be up. But I think having a little extra depth and the way Bogo is going to use it, I think what I was going to say earlier, though, is, Tom, you're right. He transformed himself, because you remember, Bogo made his bones on Roy Hibbert and that old school physical basketball. That's how he,
and rim protection being the number one priority.
Yeah, so he has definitely changed his way of thinking. So that's good. That's good. So now we're in good hands. We got to enjoy the show. That's all. I mean, the Lakers are going to be very entertaining. It's going to be a fun team to watch. We got Kuz balling out. Cruz only played 10 minutes today. So, Gerald, while you saying get TAT some more minutes, Caruso right now is saying, hey, guys, I mean, I love this victory, but I'm sure he's happy with only playing 10 minutes tonight.
Well, he's playing for a contract, so he wants to play as much as he can right now. So
Caruso, I mean, he's dropping that 3 ball. He's looking good. I mean, we just use our depth, man, and give the older guys some chance to relax and kind of cruise into the season, and let these young guys carry the load early.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that. Lee Robinson, it's just been so tremendous having you here. I know early on you and I are a little bit struggling out the gate on the fantasy teams, but, we'll get it back together. I'm happy for my friend TJ, because he couldn't even make the draft, and that was the auto draft team for him, and he's in second place. So I'm happy for him, because, he was so disappointed when, oh, man, these are the guys I got. Then all of a sudden he's in second place. So that's good for him. But you and I will get it back together. Together.
But sometimes it works out. But it's a long season. That's got to prove your true GM-ship when you can turn an auto.
A lot different than football with a short season.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just be active, and I think you'll be able to find yourself climbing up the rankings. But guys, any last thoughts on the way out?
The one thing I think is really important that is going to help the Lakers, and I think Lee hit it on the nose there, that, remember the comments about LeBron and AD both saying that Schroeder and Trez were really motivating and driving them. And we're so deep, and we have so many guys that haven't tasted the championship that are going to be a big part of it, that I think that's going to be the differentiator. See, I feel that we're going to end up with a record like 25-3 after these next 13 games. I would be surprised if we win, let's say 11, and we'll go 11-2 for those 13 games, and we end up being 15-3, something like that at that point in time. I think that's a very, very possible. And the reason I think it's possible is because we're such a deep team. It was last year, if LeBron or AD didn't both have a good game, we were in a dogfight, because we didn't know who was going to be that third guy. Was it going to be KCP? Was it going to be Kuzma? Was it going to be AC coming up and having a great game, or somebody that came out of nowhere? This year, you got to remember Trez and Dennis both averaged 18 a game last year. That means that there are a lot of games that they were scoring 20 points or more in order to average 18. So all of a sudden we have so much more firepower. We may have we've lost some rim protection. There's no doubt about that. And there are going to be some matchups where we're going to really need some defensive genius in the coaching staff and some great team play in order to make up for it. But the offensive firepower that we had, as I said last podcast, 8 out of 10 times that's going to carry the load and easily make up for what we're losing defensively.
Thank you, Laker Sean. But I will go ahead with this. Lee Robinson wanted to go ahead and say something before I turn it over to Sean Grice.
I'm good. Let's get Sean's final comment.
Okay. Go ahead, Sean. Now to you, my friend. I know LakerTom drowned you out, but go ahead, my friend. You got the floor now.
No, I was just going to piggyback of what Lee was saying. Lee, you need help with the wraps. I'm your man. Don't worry. I got you. And for those who had LeBron on their fantasy teams, you probably almost had a heart attack when you saw him roll his ankle. But he has the Infinity Stones around his neck.
He's a cyborg. Did Raphael teach you that already? How many times does he have to say that? He's a cyborg. He's a cyborg.
I mean, he's Thanos. He just gets down, ties his shoe. It's just another
I think
day.
he actually breaks his ankles, but again, it's his tying of his shoe. The way he ties his shoe, that's almost like a surgery for everybody else. So that basically fuses the ankle back together and everything is okay.
Sure seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure seems that way indeed. We'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Needing an edge for your fantasy football team? Listen to the guys at Inside Sports Fantasy Football for insight that will help you reach your league championship. That's Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Check it out today on your favorite podcast outlet. But I'll tell you what, Lee Robinson, LakerTom, Sean Grice, a.k.a. MagicMan, it's been a pleasure having each and every one of you on. Again, Lee, you're welcome to come back on anytime. You now got our info on how to get on anytime you want. You're more than welcome to. It's all up to you, my friend, because you've got an open door policy. And right here at the Lakers Fast Break, we truly appreciate it. Once again, the Lakers do win in a great performance, both on the offensive and defensive end, 127-91. Kyle Kuzma, the big scorer today for 20 points. Look at that, plus 38 on the floor. Couldn't get any better than that. In fact, probably one of his best performances as a Laker right there for you. And everybody else did a great job of just making sure they were playing at a level that they needed to, and nobody in the negative. That's probably the one best thing I like the best, is that nobody is a minus on the plus-minus for the Lakers team. So really a great performance overall, and we'll see if that carries over tomorrow against the Portland Trailblazers, because I'm looking forward to that. And we'll be back here again post-game for that, so I'm hoping you will too. And if you're not, check us out on the Lakers Fast Break, wherever you get your podcast. And, of course, remember our friends at ThriveFantasy.com. And, of course, Thrive Fantasy, you just download that app today. If you are in an eligible state, remember, player props, fantasy sports betting, it gets no better than Thrive Fantasy. And with the code LFB, they'll match dollar for dollar up to $50 as long as your first deposit is $20 from Thrive Fantasy. So we cannot thank enough for them supporting us. And, of course, we cannot thank you enough for listening and watching and supporting us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.